So our first guest today is Herman Chan, and he's going to talk about exposing top producer secrets. We're going to be exposing today?
We'll see.
Oh. All right, let's go then. Let's roll. So Herman, top producer in the company, does a ton of different media. You've been on television. You've got a successful blog. You are, one of the things we're repiping the way we think is to move away from thinking about social media and move towards thinking about it as social commerce. Yes, it's cool to have 1,500 Facebook friends, but how do you monetize that? And how do you turn that into revenue as an independent contractor? And so having someone like you to come and talk about reputation management, some of the other things that we're going to talk about are in and around social, I think will be really valuable. So thank you for your time.
Thanks for having me here again.
Yes.
I'm surprised you invited me back after my disastrous appearance last year.
Disastrous? What are you talking about? You did great. You did great. So we've got some questions here that we're going to ask, but let's freeform this. Let's have a great conversation on sort of whatever Herman has to share with the masses. Does that sound good?
Yeah, well, I just want to really share this. The issue of social is really interesting because social is a two-way street, right? And we as business people, we're going into this notion of trying to monetize it, we're trying to control it, we're trying to analyze it, but the idea of social is it's two ways, actually multi-way, and we don't quite always get that because as A-type top producers, we want to control everything.
Sure.
So, example for me, myself, I have really shied away from agent review sites like Yelp.
Yeah.
And, and I know, and Zillow, I don't actively, I know there are agents out there who've done very, very well at Lynette, who's courted that very, very much so. I have always avoided it only because, yes, I'm a control freak.
No, come on.
And I craft my image and all that stuff really well. But
I know, look at your hair.
I know, exactly.
Right?
It cost me a fortune.
Right? Yeah.
Just bought it yesterday, too, so.
All right.
But something, I've kind of been off the radar for Yelp. Well, guess what? This year, I had my first random Yelp review, and it was a 1-star, and this person wrote this huge novel.
Right.
And they were out to destroy me. Yeah. Literally, it was like 10 pages long. It was just horrible, horrible, horrible. And it wasn't even my fault. It was someone who was jilted. They didn't get, it was a multiple offer situation on my listing, off Piedmont, and it was just.
They didn't get their offer accepted, and it was your fault.
Well, exactly. And I didn't represent them, but they said all these things about me that were factually incorrect. And it's okay if they say, oh, you know what, he was too pretty for us. That's fine. I can accept that. Or something subjective.
No one has ever uttered to Keith Robinson, by the way. But okay.
But they were like factually wrong.
Wrong, right.
And so, I mean, I was just freaking out because it just, I didn't know what to do. And I was talking to people in my office, and this is apparently something that's happened to a lot of people.
Yeah.
We never talk about what happens when we get negatively reviewed.
Sure.
So what do? And I for myself, like, I'm not sure if, have you guys ever had to deal with?
Yeah, actually, I have some, I'd love your thoughts, and then I've talked to some agents as well, so I have a couple ideas on it, but go ahead.
Well, my first point of attack after talking to Matt Cord, who's my manager, is that we were going to talk to the agent and say maybe he has a relationship with these clients and say, can you please talk to your clients, because these things that were said were incorrect, maybe even bordering on slander, libel, or whatever, and that was going to be our first line of defense. Our second line of defense was I was going to have to respond to it because I just can't let it stand up there. It's my only review.
Right. Yeah.
And I was going to, and the odd thing is I kept all the offers just because I'm a hoarder.
Yes.
So I knew
you're an offer hoarder.
HORD, not
right. Never mind. Yeah,
okay.
It's a PG show.
Right, exactly. It's a family show. It's a family show. But I was going to just politely respond to them and say, oh, I remember you guys. I cite their names, and you came by my open house, and don't you guys work at so and so? Because they wrote me an intro letter, so I know everything about them.
Right.
And I thought, you know what? If they're going to hide behind anonymity, exactly. I mean, every time someone posts or Googles them, their name and their work is going to pop up too.
Yep.
And hopefully that would be their incentive to just delete it.
Yeah.
I didn't have to get that far, though, because the second I called up, and by the way, I wasn't going to write a nasty note. I was going to just didactically explain what happened, but of course, I insert the name where they work, too.
Right.
But,
and their home address.
Exactly. And their
cell
social,
phone number.
And their social, right.
Not that you were trying to get even.
Right. So I got on the phone to make that phone call to the agent, and I was getting all my pit stains were, 10 inches wide, and I was sweating bullets. And so I clicked on the link to bring it up on the website, and it was gone. And it was very, we suspect that it was just taken off by the spam filters because apparently the guy wrote 4 other reviews the same day, all 5 stars, and they're all 1 lines, versus mine was all like, 3 pages and like 1 star.
Yeah.
So, but unfortunately, fortunately it's gone.
Yeah.
But it's always archived somewhere, like somewhere in the deeper,
it never goes
somewhere,
away.
right? And when you Google my name, when the Google page comes up under Yelp, it's still cached, and so you'll still see Yelp Herman with like 1 star.
I totally made that up, ladies and gentlemen. I had no idea what I was talking about. I looked at Joe. He gave me the thumbs up. Apparently, that was right.
Okay, good. That went over my head.
Me too. Okay.
Right. So, I mean, the whole lesson there is just how to deal with these things that when people kind of go to destroy you. I was lucky that I think the spam filters caught it. But, I mean, I know people who don't even, and the reason why I found out about it was because I had my Google alerts. Tip, everybody, tip, write this down. Google alerts.
Down. Yeah. Google alert your own name.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
Exactly. So
have
you set
your
up
own
on
name as a Google alert for on the web, news, wherever.
Exactly. So anytime someone blogs about you, posts your name somewhere, your name will pop up and you go to email. And that's the only way I knew about it. Or else that thing would have been sitting there for years and years and years.
Right.
And, I wouldn't have even known.
Right.
So,
right.
Yeah.
So how else do you protect yourself, or sort of, this is somewhat of a burgeoning market, right? This reputation protection.
Yes.
There's companies now that offer it. How do you handle, because you, more than the average bear, have, I don't know where that came from. I haven't said average bear in 10 years. You more than the average.
I'm not that hairy, honestly.
Well, I know. Anyway. Yeah. You, more than the average agent, have a reputation, right? You have...
I feel repute.
Sometimes, apparently, on Yelp. Television, you're out there in the media quite a bit. And so how do you manage your reputation? And other than, you were getting prepared to call, how do you handle that?
Well, that's a reactive way to handle things. And so, my... I'm going to use a sports analogy or something, and I'm probably going to embarrass myself.
That's right. If you mess it up, I'll help you out.
Thank you. Unless it's synchronized swimming, I don't know jack about that. The best defense
is a good offense.
There you go. Thank you. Oh, thank you for saving me.
Yeah, we just knuckle bumped and everything. Like that was a real sports analogy. Yeah.
I just make sure I'm always posting a lot on different avenues because, it's really the game. The name of the game now is search.
Yes.
The name of the game now is search and big data. The more your name is out there and the more you control that data, and like with Google authorship too, you have to align and you sign up for your account to make sure that people do Google you. The stuff that you post or that you quote unquote approve of is what's popping up, not something else that's coming up through Zillow or through third-party companies which you have no control over. So it's really about generating and pumping out content. And I know that seems so dramatical and a lot of work, but it's what needs to be done nowadays. I mean, that's just the landscape of real estate now. I mean, it just takes 1 or 2 bad reviews to kind of destroy someone out there.
Now, is that it? Because my thinking was, and I could be way off, I'm light years away from the social expert. But I know as a consumer, when I use Yelp, and if I see 7 reviews and they're all 5 stars, I just figure that's friends and family, making stuff up.
Yes.
And when I see a couple of 3s or even 1, if there's 10 reviews and one of them is not great, to me it actually makes all the good reviews more credible.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
It does.
That's just Keith Robinson. That doesn't make it the universe.
Exactly. But. I mean, I think that is... I think that, when I've been to conferences and Yelp has been there with me, I mean, they say that on stage. It's like, where some variety gives some authenticity. And I think that's certainly true for certain demographics.
Sure.
Me, if I go to Yelp, I will go straight to the 1 stars and read only those because I like to nitpick. So,
got it.
I just think it depends. But ideally, I mean, it's...
But the same thought process, right? If you have 3 reviews and 2 are bad, you're not going to have a good experience. If you have 40 reviews or if you have a tremendous amount of content that's out there,
yes.
some of the bad stuff can just get caught up in the noise.
Yes.
Is that
yes.
kind of part of what
yes.
you're saying? Just the more content, the more I'm out there, the more I am forward as far as my social presence, the less those negative things can sort of penetrate that noise.
Exactly,
yeah.
exactly.
Okay.
I mean, you were talking more about just the Yelp
yeah,
side
Yelp
itself,
is a specific,
but I mean,
right.
in general, as a Google search,
mm-hmm.
You know, what's a really great tip for everybody is everyone seems to ignore Google Plus,
yes.
but that is where people start their searches. So anytime you post anything, just repost it onto Google Plus. It just will help dominate your voice on the internet. So when and it doesn't even have to even be your own content, just repost something.
Interesting article.
Yeah. So, oh, I love this. Oh, can you believe this is happening? Or but your name gets attached to it.
Now, for some may not know, what is Google Plus? What is the difference between Google and Google Plus?
Oh, Google is the search engine.
Yep.
And if I have to explain that,
yeah, if you don't know what Google is, you can go ahead. If you don't know what Google is, you're actually not hearing us right now because this is a webinar. So if you don't know what Google is, you're fired. But Google Plus, what's the difference?
Google Plus is their social media effort.
Okay, got it. Yep. And then so you use Google Plus that mostly because that helps drive search.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. So when people search your name, I mean, those things will come up. Yep. Versus if you just post on Facebook. I mean, especially if you have highly privatized settings, no one's gonna see anything. I mean, that stuff you're posting out is just to your friends and family, and
they don't care.
They already know you have a good reputation, so you're preaching to the choir. I mean, you have to let everything be kind of as exposed as possible.
Kind of, if the tree falls in the forest and no one is there to hear it.
There you go.
Yeah,
mm-hmm.
yeah. Okay, all right, good deal, good. Now, what do you say to agents that think Facebook is a waste of time, you know,
right,
this is a bit,
right.
Yeah.
Well, I don't quite understand that because, the biggest problem, I think the hardest part of the business is procuring leads.
Yes.
Right? It's always been the case. That's why we pay so much money to different third-party companies and even, for referral fees.
Yep.
That's the hardest part of the business.
Lead generation.
Lead generation.
That's right.
Always.
Yep.
Always been the hardest part.
Yep.
So I don't quite understand it when I going to these conferences or seminars, and I always have like half the people say, oh, I'm not on Facebook, or oh, I'm afraid, I'm a private person, or I just don't like to share. I mean, like, and I think to myself, but this is the same woman who's going to spend, $10,000 on flyers, putting her face up on a bus bench ad, farming her little 2-block radius. I mean, that doesn't make any sense to me. And these people are strangers who you're sending postcards to, and not to step on your topic, Doug, but...
Yeah. Stay tuned more.
Right.
That's a great tease. Thank you, Herman. Well done.
Thank you. I try. I'm a pro. But on Facebook, it's like these people already know you. They want to hear from you. I mean, like that's your Rolodex, your built-in Rolodex. Mm-hmm. When I lost my iPhone earlier this year or last year, I was freaking out, but you know what I did? I just logged right on Facebook to find people's stuff, and I mean, my life was fine. Yeah. I mean, the Facebook is now the Rolodex.
You had everyone's telephone number, you had their email address, you had everything you needed.
And it was just fascinating how that has become your farm, your sphere in many ways. So
now, how do you balance? Because I mean, one thing that personally drives me crazy is, and I probably like to see it more than the average person because I am interested when our agents are doing open house, but. Should agents post, I'm doing an open house at 123 Elm?
Why not?
Should they? Shouldn't they? I don't know. I mean, does one's whole social network care that you're doing an open house? I guess as much as they care that you got a latte.
Well, it's only once a week. It's fine, I think. I mean, I don't think that's a bad thing. I just think it's bad when you're posting every other day saying, oh, check out my new listing. Oh, check out the, it's kind of, it's like I always tell people, you know what? If your friend was a used car salesman, do you want to be seeing their feed on your news feed saying, "Oh, I have a new Pinto. Oh, I have a new Mercedes coming." Yeah, it's like, shut up.
How do you sort of undercurrently position your real estate business in your Facebook world? How do you do that?
Well, I want to go back to your first question about the open house thing. Yeah. So I think you should make it about them, about your viewers. So if you're free food, come on over. Say, I haven't talked to many of you guys in a few years. Even if you're interested in the house, come on over. Just catch up.
Right.
Or say something funny about the house that you're saying. We did a pre-inspection. We found a dead skunk underneath the house.
Right.
Or something silly like that. Or I don't know, just to make it a little lighthearted, and it's like
make it a little less about
the house,
and make it a little more about you.
Exactly, or some type of hilarious anecdote.
Right.
And even if they don't go to the open house, it's not the point is that they know that you do real estate.
Yes.
Like on Facebook, this bully from high school found me, on Facebook, and I thought, oh God, what is he going to say to me? After all these years.
You had the unfriend button ready.
Right, exactly. I was ready. My claws were out.
Finger on the trigger.
Taking off my earrings. I was like, okay, it's on. Now what? Huh? She's like, oh, Herman, I haven't talked to you in so long, and I'm looking for a house, my new wife and I. And I was like, what? And so you just never know who is on your sphere, your entire life, your college friends, your high school friends, your neighbors. You just get everyone on that thing and be on it, because you just have no idea. And I wasn't even actively courting real estate.
Sure.
It's just, I think people see what you're doing, they click the little about button, and I think there's some familiarity with using someone who they've known since they were a kid too, or
right.
through your church or something.
Well, and this is a trust sale, right?
Exactly.
And when you have a really transparent experience on Facebook, when you provide that to your 200, 800, 1,200, 2,000, however many friends you have, it helps them trust you because they are seeing different sides of you, the whole person, and that makes it less threatening to work with you as a real estate professional.
They're also more loyal.
Yeah.
I will tell you, and this is why I don't do those little wackadoo, Redfin, Trulia, Zillow leads, because those clients typically, and now, mind you, I know a lot of people who do that, so it's, and they make a lot of sales from paying the third company parties, but mind you, what they net is a different story. But that's another story altogether.
That's a different show.
That's a different show. I feel that those clients, they've clicked on 10 other agents too, on 10 other websites, and I just think they're out there kind of like it's a numbers game for them. If you're dealing with your sphere already on Facebook, or they seem much more solid to me in my experience.
So, a couple questions on that. One, how much of your Facebook is sort of planned, positioned, it's Tuesday, I better talk about a house, or, let me make sure this is a real estate-centric post.
You're such a businessman. Well, that's so sexy. Oh, my God. You're trying to plan things out. No, I'm just going nilly-willy. Wherever, I arrived here today, and I posted a picture of the building, and I was like, heading into the BHG radio show, yippee, it's just meaning, I'm involved in real estate. It's just organic. It's part of my lifestyle.
Yep.
There's some, I think it's
it's not planned, but it's always conscious.
I try to be.
Or it's often conscious.
Yeah, I tried to forecast the posts through Hootsuite before, but it's very inorganic sometimes, and
feels too staged and too, it's Tuesday, let me tell you about home inspections.
Yeah, I don't know. It's too didactic. I think people...
Didactic. Someone who understands Google, tell me what that means.
I did go to Berkeley.
I know you did.
It's just, I feel it has to be organic.
Yeah.
And I think if you have to think too hard, I almost feel like, if I'm posting something, if I have to sit there and think too hard about it, it just wasn't meant to be.
Right.
It has to be almost on the fly. It's just on the fly.
Spontaneous.
Yeah.
Transparent. Honest. Yeah. Now, by the way, for Herman, that is absolutely you, right? You're a very spontaneous person. You have a groundedness, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
You like to distract people with your fun and frivolity, but there's a groundedness underneath you.
You can see right through me.
Well, sometimes. But if you are someone who's highly processed, a systems thinker, you were an engineer before you got into real estate, it might make sense for you to think about mapping out your posts and having that be part of actually how you communicate and the way you take the tool and use it. I think what Herman's really saying is embrace who you are on Facebook. Now, the one that I get all the time, and I want you to handle this one because I hear it all the time, and you do too, is, Herman, I just want my private life private and, my business separate. And, what do you tell people when they tell you that?
There's no such thing.
Right.
There's no such thing. There is no such thing now. You're laughing and giggling. I'm sitting here stone-faced because there is no... you go to Spokio.com. You can find out anyone, their age range, what they earn, who they're related to. The notion that people live in a private world, it's like you're putting your head in the sand.
Yeah.
Anyone who knows anything about search and, his... even mediocrely tech savvy will find out anything about you.
Yep.
So I don't know. I just feel like if you can't, you just can't fight it. Well, and mind you, private people do not, clients don't want to work with private people.
Right.
Because, nowadays, if you have no online presence, you don't exist. To the consumer, you do not exist. It's like when I'm Googling a restaurant or something and I can't find the website to save my life or something, I'm thinking, this place must be closed.
Right.
Right. I mean, it's just...
There's even closed restaurants that have more presence.
Exactly,
right?
exactly.
Right.
So I just think we should tell those people, get over yourself. You're not that important. Honestly.
I agree.
Unless you have some stalker situation,
Sure.
I mean, then that's a different story. But for most agents, it's very important to get yourself out there because what do they say? 90% of the business is started online now, and people vet you. People vet you for months and months. I think our life as real estate agents don't start until we actually meet someone. That's not true. The relationship starts. Well before that. Before they even talk to you, they're vetting you, they're following you on Twitter, they're seeing what you blog about. They're just already kind of checking you out.
Yep.
So, I mean, if they can't find anything about you, they're going to make a phone call to you.
Well, and I agree with you completely. We are reading from the same book on this one. Like I said before, in my opinion, it's a trust sale. And if I'm consistently transparent, and, there are things that you can keep private if you like to. I know one person that I know real well who has a great Facebook presence. She doesn't like posting anything about her grandkids. And so her grandkids are her private place. She sets those off to the side. She never posts pictures of them. That's her thing that she keeps for herself. Nothing wrong with that. But on so many other areas of her life, she's very transparent. So you can pick and choose parts.
You have to be strategic.
Yeah.
So, no one's saying you have to post about your dating life, for heaven's sakes, okay? Or your grandchildren or your whatever, your divorce.
Your bender that you went on last night.
Exactly. I mean, out of the billions of seconds you have in a week, I mean, you can't, you only focus on those things? I mean, are you that myopic? I mean, why don't, if you are, for example, you go to church a lot, why don't you blog about a little bit about your church here and there? I mean, you're a public figure going to church anyways, and do it organically and strategically because people who go to church probably want to buy a house too eventually. And so, it's strategic, but you're not doing it in such a way like, oh, pick up my flyer at the next sermon and, I'll give you a 10% discount. I mean,
And the more they know you, perceived or actual, the more they will trust you.
Yes.
And the more they trust you, the greater likelihood they will work with you. Period. End of story as far as I'm concerned.
Again, it's about reputation. Like, perception is reality now. Yeah. And it is so true. You could be the best agent in the whole entire world, but if no one knows about it, it doesn't matter. And that's why a lot of, and not to poo-poo on our colleagues, no one at BG, of course, but
no one in our
there
company.
are agents out there who are killing it in sales, but we know they have reputations in the business of just being not the best or whatever, but that's because they spend so much money, the image, the pushing this out of there, always constantly being in front of people. I mean, it's, the perception is reality, unfortunately, fortunately or unfortunately.
Yeah, it's sort of like gravity, right? There's some times where gravity is fortunate, like when you want to stay on the earth, and there's some times where it's unfortunate, like when you trip and fall.
I thought you were making a comment about aging or something like that. Never mind.
No.
Oh, I'm so vain.
Not that gravity. What I mean is I'm going to try to just press right on through that one. Whether you like it or not, it's still true that this is a cult of personality.
Yes.
And it always has been, I think.
Yes.
It has been for a long time. And if you don't like it, that's okay. And if you like it, that's okay. But it still doesn't make it not true. Because it is true that this is a trust sale. And the perception of trust, hopefully it's authentic. Because when it's authentic, it's easier to continue it. When it's inauthentic, those are the people that usually have 5 great years and then they're out of the business.
Yes. Or, and again, I'm talking about these ding-dong realtors out there who spend a lot of money, always out there procuring leads. Always, they're a lot of their business referrals are not there because their business model is always about tentacles, always out there getting new people. That's why they have to constantly put so much money and so much marketing into procuring new leads because, when you're not getting a referral base of quality experience with your clients, they're not coming back to you. So that type of agent, not that it's right or wrong, but it's just a lot of work. It's a lot of work, it's a lot of money to make those numbers and always be out there marketing yourself. So it's easier when you're just doing it online, your computer and your fuzzy slippers and your robe, posting things.
Question from the audience that is a good one, I think. What about having a Facebook business page or profile separate from your personal profile, aside from the double maintenance?
Mm-hmm.
Are there any negatives? What's your recommendation? What are your thoughts?
I don't think it can hurt. I personally have gotten more leads just from my personal, and I don't really post very much about real estate in my personal one anyways, but it's just that's, like you said, it's a trust thing.
Yeah. Now, what I have noticed, though, is you have started posting a lot of real estate pictures.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
As someone who relentlessly follows Herman on Facebook, I've noticed that it's a very clever way of you weaving in real estate.
Well, this is a whole new thing.
Okay.
See, last year when I was on the show, that was like fall or something.
Uh-huh.
The business has changed, started to change even more. Everything now is visual.
Yes.
I redid my entire website since last time I was on here, because before it was just a simple website. It was very beautiful. It was a lot of pictures of myself. Well, that's redundant. Beautiful website, right?
Beautiful and pictures of Herman is redundant.
But now now everything is, with the rise and the advent of Pinterest and Tumblr and Instagram, everything is visual. No one even has time for 140 characters anymore. So I redid my entire website to look like a Pinterest board. And that's why I'm posting more on Pinterest, and I'm doing more visual stuff, because it's almost
your Flickr feed, because I find you on Flickr.
Yes, exactly. Instagram is great. I can post simultaneously to Tumblr, Facebook, Flickr, and some other ones too. So yeah, it's great. Everything is visual. I mean, no one even knows. I'm not even selling these homes I'm posting. I just like architecture, but again, it reinforces, it cements my brand. I'm not, and that's why I don't take pictures of food.
Right.
I'm not a foodie. And there's nothing wrong with that. But like, if I want to reinforce
you're not selling
brand,
a restaurant. You're not.
There you go.
Yeah, you're not selling food products. You're selling houses. So why not take interesting pictures of houses?
Exactly. It's being strategic.
Yeah.
Again.
Yeah, it's interesting. You've said this a few times. Strategically organic.
Yes.
And strategically spontaneous.
Yes.
I think that's a very, very interesting concept that that I want to kind of chew on and meditate on some. But that is having a direction, and without a lot of scaffolding built-in structure around it, but knowing I want to make sure that I consistently communicate that I'm in residential real estate and I love what I do.
Yes.
And that's the direction.
Yes.
And that might evolve into photos of interesting architecture or, I know another agent that posts, funny things you see on the MLS. And she'll find a funny picture from the MLS where the toilet seats are up or whatever, just the horrific things you can find on the MLS, right? She'll post one of those every Friday. So there are interesting things, interesting ways that you can be strategic but still organic at the same time.
The takeaway from the viewer should be, this person has an interesting life.
Yeah. And
they happen to sell real estate.
Right.
Or be in the real estate business.
Yeah.
that's what it is, not the other way around.
Not the other way around.
Maybe I know an agent, she focuses on craftsman homes. So that's what she photograph. They're not even her own listings, for heaven's sakes. They're just things she sees. Yeah, she drives down the street, she sees when she takes a picture of it. But again, she's built that niche just on what she's taking pictures of, and it just reinforces her brand again.
Yep.
Again, perception is reality. She maybe never even sold a craftsman in her entire life.
She might hate them. All right. Now, you mentioned visual and how visual we all are and how things are migrating that direction. So, video. Yes. Now, I know you're someone who's done a tremendous amount of video. What about agents that aren't comfortable? Maybe they don't like their look. They don't like their voice. They get nervous.
Always believe in yourself.
Yeah.
I think it was a very famous philosopher who said that. Who was that?
Herman Chan?
No, Cher.
Oh, Cher. Cher, yes. The real estate and life guru, Cher.
Right.
Yes.
What was the question again?
I don't even remember.
Video.
Right, video. Yes.
You don't have to put yourself on video. Although I think you should, just at a bare minimum, because I think people, again, it's part of that vetting process.
Yep.
Just even a 15-second intro on your website is all you need. So, hey, my name is Herman. I sell so-and-so, and I'd love to help you out. Give me a ring.
Yeah.
Simple, nice, happy. That's all they really care about. and just be perky.
Well,
but it also helps with SEO because Google and YouTube are married. So if you just tag yourself, you're going to be definitely coming up on in the search. But if you happen just not to be genetically blessed like some of us in this room, that's fine. What you can do is just create content and maybe interview your favorite stager and say, oh, can you give my clients like your top 3 tips on how to make a room look bigger?
Yep.
And it's like they're on camera, you're not, you're off camera. Or,
right.
or maybe just have someone else interview them. But it's just more content again. But you have to tag it. You have to put it on your YouTube channel, on your site, so that way you get attached to that content when people are searching.
Well, and the other piece I would say is, in truth, like, care about everyone who has that fear, but get over yourself.
Yes.
It's really not.
You're not that important.
I mean, I don't think that someone's going to pick who they are and aren't going to work with based off how attractive they are, or most of the population was. Herman has carved out that niche. He's tremendously successful at it.
You're making me sound like a 2-cent Jezebel.
No. But if you were providing great content, which was your point, right, and if you have a modicum of comfort in front of the camera, just do the intro, the outro, and like you said, interview the stage or have other people be more in front of the camera, but just do it. I promise it's just like anything in life. The more you do it, the more comfortable you'll get with it. And the more comfortable you get with it, the more you will do it. It's this self-fulfilling cycle.
Yes.
And I personally think video is going to continue to become more and more and more important.
Yeah, especially with like Vine.
Yeah.
And these little apps that are coming out. It's not even about before when I started like video blogging and speaking on the circuit. I was telling people like 3 to 5 minutes, and now 2 years ago it was like 1 to 2 minutes, and now it's like 6 seconds. A 6-second video.
Right. I can't even say hello in 6 seconds. I talk too much. Yeah, it's getting faster and faster, but it is going to continue to become more and more important. Soon, I think people will expect video as opposed to other delivery mechanisms. And the reason for that is because we're highly visual creatures. Vision is our primary sense. It's what we use as human beings. It's how our brain works. It's how our brain is wired. That's where phrases like, don't believe it till you see it come from.
Right.
And so the flatter the medium, the harder it is to create trust.
And also, I just think the advent of technology has changed so fast. Like before, it was when blogging came on the scene, oh my gosh, we can actually type our own content online. That's great. So that was, and everyone and their grandma did it. And then now visual with Instagram and all these other type of like visual media. Now it's so easy to make an amazing. There's this New York Times article that came out with who's that sports guy? He dated Mariah Carey. Oh gosh, that's my content. A-Rod, right?
Nice. Oh, Kathy.
Thank you, Kathy.
Very good in the house, ladies and gentlemen.
He was on the cover of New York Times recently, and the photographer, who's a well-known photographer, took the picture with his iPhone, and he just Instagrammed it. Yeah. And that was what they used for the new. I mean, the technology is so advanced now that everyone is proletariat now. Everyone can do photos. Yeah. So now, like, if everyone can do it, then what's the next level? Is like video. Yeah. 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 I mean, after video is going to be like holograms or something. Yeah.
Good. Okay. Nurturing agent relationships.
That's a big one.
Tell me about that.
Again, it's part of your reputation management. I guess if I want to take a step back, I think some agents come into the business or have this misconception of the business that it's adversarial. Like you're going into court, you're kind of like, who's going to win? I'm going to be a shark for my buyer, and I'm going to go in and
gladiator.
Exactly. Yeah, and you know what? No, because especially now in this market. As a seller or listing agent, and I have 6 offers to pick from, and I'm not. No, trust me, I'm not.
If you're a pain in the neck.
Exactly. And so oftentimes, this is really interesting to me that like the second my client expresses interest in a house, for example, I'm already starting to massage the other agent. Yep. Just keeping in touch with them, responding right away. I mean, a lot of agents think they don't really. They're not on until they're presenting the offer physically, and it's no. I know on the listing side, the second you start asking me questions about the property, like 2 weeks when it hits, I already know if you're someone I want to work with or not. Yep. And that just the follow through, all that stuff goes on.
Well, and I know that when I was selling, I would have my client said, "Ooh, we really like this. We want to write on it," and I would see who the agent was, I'd have a reaction.
Yes.
And sometimes the reaction I had would be like, God, I would love to work with him again. And sometimes the reaction I would have is like, oh, God, I hope we don't get this offer accepted.
I know.
That matters.
It does.
I mean, it equates to dollars and cents.
Oh, we sure do.
Yeah.
I always say, you know what? All things equal in a multiple offer situation. All things equal in a multiple offer situation.
Yes.
The deciding factor is not the buyer's offer.
Right.
It's the buyer's agent.
Yep.
It always is.
It helps you win ties.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And especially in this market with completely wackadoo.
Right.
Another tip I want to give people is oftentimes statistically you have not worked with the other agent.
Right.
So they're not just taking a chance on the offer and the buyer, they're taking a chance on you.
Yep.
So I always submit my press kit with my offers.
Press kit now.
Yes.
Let's pretend I'm an agent that doesn't have
just
a press kit.
Just like a bio. Like, I sold a house two across the street.
Right.
I know the neighbors. I've worked, just something about you. So I've been in the business 10 years. Anything to give them just assurance that they can trust you a little bit more.
Right.
And that has helped me so many times. I can't even begin to tell you. Just them knowing a little bit more about me.
It mattered. I mean, I approached it when I started in the business those were job interviews.
Yes.
And if you treat it like a job interview, you'll have a great result. You won't always win, but especially if we're in the market right now where there's 10 offers on every property, right? So really, that first phase, all you're trying to get is a counter. You want to be in the group that gets countered, right?
Right.
Because if you can get in the group that gets countered, you make it to the next round.
Right.
There were many times where I would get a counter even though I was way off on price because they like me, they want to work with me, they know my deal's closed, I don't go crazy, I'm not a lunatic, I return calls, right? So I would get counters and it would be amazing. My clients would be, 40, 50 grand away. Originally, we normally wouldn't have gotten a counter, but they liked who I was, they liked how I did my business, they thought I was fun. And so we get a counter, and I won some of those. Now, sometimes my clients said, nah, that's just too high, we can't go there, and so I didn't. But anytime I can get to that next round, that's what I want.
Yes, at least it died on your side, not on the other side. You were offered the chance,
Correct, correct. And it's interesting because the buyer feels a lot better about that experience as well. When they get a counter and turn it down, the control paradigm shifts. So instead of being rejected, they are now rejecting, and their willingness to stay in the game goes up.
Right.
So, yeah.
One more thing.
Yes, please.
About offers and multiple offer situations, which is a lot of what's going on right now in our business.
Yep.
Like, I just ratified something over this weekend in Lafayette for like 1.25, right? And the agent told it was multiple offers. We were up against all cash. We only had 30% down. And that sounds so weird. Only 30% down, right? at that price range too, right? But she told me, I researched you. I went to all your websites. And she said, I really like what I saw. So I knew, again, not only are clients vetting me, the agents are vetting, and I do the same thing too. When I want to know what they've done. I want to know, what they're about, and I know. I mean, all that effort I'm putting out into like social media and my websites. I mean, I know it pays off when it comes down to the nitty-gritty of writing offers. Yeah. And that's what agents need to know. It's not just you're throwing it out there in the universe and hoping for something to happen.
Right.
This is real life stuff. People will go onto the search engines and Google you, whether as an agent or as to find out whether or not you can complete the deal. I mean, perception is reality.
Yep. And strategic organic posts. That's my big I'm going to write that in my
the big picture.
That's going in my journal. I'm going to chew on that one. That's a book title, or at least a blog post or 30.
There you go.
So Herman, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate you. It's always great when we get to have you on the show. You bring great energy and such great information. Poor Doug has got to try to follow that. So that poor guy. But Herman, really appreciate you very much. Thanks for making the time.
Sure, anytime.
Appreciate it. All right. Thank you. Quick reminder that coming up on May 17th, we have our online and social commerce expo. This is a great event. We should have several hundred agents there. We'll have national speakers, partners. There'll be a vendor fair. It's completely free. A lot of the cutting edge. I remember at last year's, there was sort of this beginning discussion around video and the importance of it, and now it's fully here. So this is a great event to, especially, do not think you have to be a tech guru to attend this event. This is actually, the tech gurus will have a tremendous amount of value that's provided to them, but I am not a tech guru. And the reason I would attend something like this, because I want to know where it's headed. You got to skate to where the puck is going, not where the puck is, or you will miss it. And this is an event that will help you figure out where the puck is going so that you can skate that direction. Doesn't mean you have to have a Twitter account and an Instagram account.
You don't have to be Herman Chan.
You don't have to be Herman Chan, right? You just have to be everyone has this is going to be awesome. Everybody's got a tiny little bit of Herman Chan inside of them, and so you just got to figure out how to unlock your inner Herman
I'll leave
Chan.
that completely alone.
Yeah. All right. So now we've got Doug Fuller from our Piedmont office, and Doug, I love the title, Postcards No More.
Well, yeah, I've given up on postcards, but I want to talk about social media too.
Okay, cool.
A couple of points that came up when Herman was talking.
Yeah.
Another thing that I do, the thing you were just talking about at the end about the impressions on other agents.
Yeah.
I have used frequently and to good effect is finding out other agents in offices that I know that have worked with that agent before and having them call on my behalf. Hey, Doug Fuller's a good guy. Actually, you should trust him. Even though you've never done a deal with him, you've done deals with me. I'm going to speak on his behalf.
So you have agents in their office,
or
in
if
your
I know
office,
someone, yes, or in my office,
right?
Whoever they know or they've done deals with in the past.
So you'll run around the office. Hey, how many of you have done a deal with Kathy Harrington?
That's right.
Somebody raises their hand. You say, "Do me a favor. I'm writing on that tonight."
And you drop her an email. Exactly.
Really smart. Really smart. That's like old school social networking.
Exactly.
Right? Like more direct and to the point. It's awesome. Good. Any
I will
others?
definitely will call myself more old school than Herman Chan.
Yeah.
And why you put me on after him, I'll never know because there's no way I can fill up the room like that. But.
Yeah, although I also don't tend to normally have anyone with a better voice than me on my show, and so I'm getting beat out all over the place here. Right? I'm over.
I will say that my 9-year-old daughter has a shirt that says WWCD.
Oh.
What would Cher do?
Nice. I think Herman
would approve.
Herman has it, I'm sure. So let's just kind of dive into the questions, and as is always the way, and Herman set the table nicely, we can freeform this, and wherever we go, I know the agents always get value. So postcard marketing, you've punted on the whole thing.
I punted all of it, and I don't farm anymore either.
Okay.
This is my 11th year in business.
Yep.
I did a lot of postcard marketing.
Yep.
I've sent a lot of postcards, and I hesitate to look Kathy in the eye when I say this stuff because I know VHG has wonderful postcards available to you, but I don't use them anymore.
The views being expressed are the views of Doug. No, I'm
That's
just kidding.
right.
I'm totally kidding. You know, it's interesting. I have talked with some San Francisco agents who one of my favorite agents I'd ever worked with. He started in San Francisco and then he relocated to Walnut Creek, and I worked with him years ago. And he said he had tried farming in San Francisco, very urban, and it failed miserably.
Yeah.
And he went to Walnut Creek, a little more suburban, and it was very successful.
That makes a lot of sense.
And so, you definitely don't want to, just because one agent does something, doesn't mean it's necessarily going to work. You want to track the results, pay attention to it.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Try it out, and I've given it a shot, and
Yeah.
it didn't
And
work.
you did,
It didn't
and it
work
did
out
work.
for me. Farming in Oakland, I think, is probably very similar to
Probably
farming in
right.
San Francisco.
Yes.
I got zero from it.
Yeah.
And think about for yourself when you get a postcard in the mail.
Yep.
What do you do with it? You glance at it, throw it away.
Yep. That's the shelf life.
So I have, and with all due respect to, because this idea really came from Stewart at First American Title. He's the one who got me going on letter marketing. I've been using this to great effect over the past 2 or 3 years now. And rather than send a postcard, I have several instances where I will send an actual written letter to either an open sphere of people that I am trying to market to my direct sphere of influence, or to maybe a very specific farm, and I'll talk about how I'm dealing with that as well.
So let's get real tactical for just a second, and then we'll go back strategic. So letters, like you mean like a handwritten letter, like World War II? Do you mean like...
No, because then I would have no time to do anything else. No, we're talking a mail merged letter that I print. It looks hand-signed.
Yeah.
I use a signature block there.
Sure.
It's got my picture on it. but it's addressed personally to the name
not
that I'm marketing
resident
to, not resident at. No.
Right.
And
do you use labels, or do you handwrite the address?
So I use window envelopes so that it's typewritten and shows the letter block on the front.
Okay.
I do not use bulk mail ever. I use personal stamps, sports stamps, or trees or houses or
not
whatever.
The generic.
No, I don't use generic stamps if you can help it. It's definitely one good point.
Because you figure if it's my intuition is if you figure if it's a personalized stamp or a unique stamp, then a human being actually did it.
Exactly. I mean, your goal is to get them to open the envelope, right? So it needs to look like a letter that is coming to them, that's addressed to them, that might be from an actual human being.
Right.
So that, and the other thing that I've learned is to mail on Thursdays.
Okay.
Because that way it arrives in the mailbox on Friday or Saturday. And that's when someone has more time. They're having their morning coffee. They might actually open the letter.
Right. Okay.
So that's definitely been useful and for me.
Okay. Okay. And then I think we're going to dig into it later as far as topics. Yeah, or do you want to go there
absolutely,
now?
yeah.
Okay, all right.
Or whenever you want.
Let's do this first. How big? We'll stay tactical for a second. How big is your database?
That's a personal question.
Yeah.
No, I looked at this morning. I was trying to figure out exactly. It's Herman's fault.
It is all. Yeah. Anything that gets naughty on this show, we're blaming on Herman.
So my database of active people that I market to in my sphere of influence is really only about 400 or so, 350, 400. Okay. But it's difficult to really measure this because of social media and because of networking groups that I'm members of.
Right.
I recently, just in the past couple of weeks, got 2 referrals from someone I barely know.
Right.
I know them. I mean, I know who they are. I recognize them on the street. I say hello, but we don't hang out. And she sent 2 people my way. So
you'll be hanging out more.
We'll probably be hanging out more now. So it's hard to say. I also remember a member of BNI in City Center there in
Just
Oakland.
in case people don't know, BNI is a networking group.
Business Networking International.
Yep. And they normally only let in a certain...
They let in one person per profession, per chapter. So I'm the only real estate agent in the City Center chapter. There's only one mortgage consultant.
And the intent is you share business across...
That's the intent. Yeah. But you, like anything, you have to build trust.
Yeah.
So I got quite a few referrals out of there. And in the past 3 years, I think it was my trend has been 90%, and then the last 2 years 100 and 100% referral generated business. I haven't had any non-referral business.
Got it. Okay. Now you said database was around 350.
That's right.
And how many deals do you think? Yeah,
it's really hard.
But yeah, best guess you get 7 a year from that. You get 17 a year. What feels like the right number?
I'm going to tell you, I get about half of my business out of there.
Okay.
Whether it is directly from somebody that I know that's buying a house, as was the instance several times last year.
Yep.
Or whether it's saying, oh, I know Doug Fuller.
You need to give him a
guy.
call.
If you're looking in Oakland or in Piedmont, Berkeley, you should talk to him.
Now, how often do you mail to your database?
Probably not nearly as often as I should. I'll say that.
Everybody says that.
Well, the challenge in this is, we can't all be Herman Chan. I don't know who has the energy to do that. I have it on my calendar to update my blog every week, but I don't do it.
Right.
I have it on my calendar to send out letters every so often, but I don't always do it. It's difficult to maintain consistency.
Yep.
But I think it's
the classic challenge of this business.
But I think that's what you have to do.
Yeah.
I think Herman's really good at it. I endeavor to send out at least 4 times a year to my sphere.
Yep.
One thing that I do that I've done for 10 years running now, and this will be my 11th, that I am consistent with is sending out a, weird as it may seem, a holiday music CD. I do a little DJing on the side, so
very cool.
I will send out.
Hence the voice. I got it.
So I will send out that every year around holiday time.
Nice.
That is proven to be a very effective tool too, because it stays around.
Yep.
People pull it out once a year. It's got my name and phone number on it.
Yep. Yeah.
So I endeavor to send it 4 times a year to some sort of communication via mail, but it doesn't always happen.
Okay. Now let's get into your tips. And I want to talk, and this is probably where we're headed. So you've got this mail campaign, and tell me how you take this concept of mail, right?
Right.
And sort of old school in it, which I like, right?
Yeah.
There's a interesting business concept that I've studied a little, decent amount. It's called the 180-degree rule, which is if everybody's headed one way, if everyone's headed tech,
right,
go the exact opposite way, and there's a niche there.
That's why I'm turning to carrier pigeons next.
See, I like it. Yes, we're going to do smoke signals,
right,
carrier pigeons, and we're going to communicate only via the telegraph.
Right.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. But
everything's retro now.
And in some ways, though, that's really kind of what you're doing, right?
Yeah.
Is you're saying, yeah, look, social media has its place. I'm still going to have it as part of my business, but I know that if I'm consistent about this my letter writing efforts, I can get a result.
That's right, and I have gotten results, which is what keeps me coming back.
Doing it, right. So what are the different ways that you take advantage of that? What are the different ways that I've heard everything from you've got a buyer that's looking in a specific neighborhood, so you may do a targeted, not really a farm because you're not going to market to them forever. You're actually looking for that buyer. Or tell me.
Well, that's been really effective for me.
Yeah.
I've actually gotten several listings that way, and basically what it is picking a buyer that I have that is a good buyer.
Yep.
Someone that's in a price range that I want to work in.
Yep.
Someone that's looking in an area that I want to work in, and someone that's well qualified.
So what I hear you that is sort of means it's especially the area that you want to work in. There's a lot of concentric circles that are overlapping.
Absolutely.
It doesn't mean every buyer that comes in you're
going
to do a
I'm
letter
not
writing.
marketing. My buyers are looking in Rodeo for $200,000. I'm not really marketing that effectively a lot.
Right.
And I do have that buyer.
Yeah, nice. I've shown property there.
Yeah, me too.
Yikers.
And I showed Martinez the other day. I was like, why am I here?
You're right.
I mean, it's a beautiful town. Don't get me
just
wrong,
kidding.
but it's a long way from where I live.
Yeah, if you're in the Riviera office,
that's right.
It's a beautiful area.
No, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
So, for example, I just sent a letter out last week. I have clients who are looking in a very specific 6th Street area of Alameda.
Got it.
I want to live on these 6 blocks.
Mm-hmm.
And there's nothing for sale there. There hasn't been in a while. So that's it's $600,000-$700,000 price range in that neighborhood. So that's a natural fit.
Right.
Okay, let me send out a letter on your behalf.
Mm-hmm.
Dear homeowner of a 3 to 4 bedroom house on these 6 streets, I've got qualified buyers who've got cash down, that have pre-qualified for a mortgage. They're looking to buy a home just like yours. If you've given any thought to selling, let me know and see if maybe we can work it out. I'll tell you right now, 99 times out of 100, that buyer is not buying that house.
Mm-hmm.
But I will maybe get the listing, and have in the past picked up listings in Montclair, Alameda, in Piedmont once from these marketing efforts, these letters.
Nice. So especially when you have a lot of those concentric circles overlap, it's a price point that makes sense to maybe spend some marketing dollars.
Right.
The buyer is real. Don't do this if you don't really have a buyer, please.
No, right. No, that makes no sense. You've got to be able to actually produce should it actually
happen.
Right?
You've got to be able to at least walk a buyer through. Good. Okay.
I'll tell you there's one other indispensable thing for letter marketing, and that's having a 9-year-old that you can pay to put stamps on the envelope for you.
So have a kid.
Have a kid.
Or borrow one.
Yeah, or borrow one.
Yeah. Okay, good. Absentee owners. Tell me a little bit about that program.
So I've been working that one for a while in a neighborhood in Oakland. Mm-hmm. It's easier to market to absentee owners. They're more likely to respond to your overtures,
right,
and are more likely to follow your market updates than people maybe who living in the house there.
Right.
So I have a 350-ish, 375, somewhere in there, farm of absentee owners in Oakland there that I send letters to once every other month.
Okay.
When I'm consistent.
Yeah.
And it gives a market update and it just says, hey, if you have any questions about the market, about your neighborhood, and anything I can help with. And I've also turned out listings in that regard.
Good.
Nice ones.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. And educate your database.
So and there's we're back to I'm trying to send letters out once a quarter to my database.
Okay.
So that's what we spoke about before. I'm increasingly turning to Facebook for that as well, though.
Okay.
And just to comment on some of the things you were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
I made the choice a while back not to separate out my personal from my business on Facebook. Yeah. I intentionally let them intermingle. Yeah. I do have a business page on Facebook which I use, but I let the pictures of me in chicken suits appear. Right. I do. And there's one.
Nice. I'm going to go find it. Nice.
But I do, and I would suggest if you choose that approach that you, and my profile is public on Facebook.
Yeah.
I would suggest that you monitor your tags. So when friends, I learned that lesson the hard way. So don't just let people tag you at random. Make it so that you are able to choose a setting that you can approve the tag. Right?
Yeah, good point. Yeah, as someone who is pretty transparent between personal and professional life, I would agree.
Right. I've seen pictures of your kid online.
Yeah, that's pretty much. Now, it used to be way cooler. I had a little baby, and now it's nothing but motivational quotes and baby pictures.
That's right.
Well, it used to be like boxing gyms and cool stuff. Now it's
motorcycles.
Right. One question from the audience. What's the cost difference between mail versus postcard? And obviously you think it's worth it, but just speak to that.
Well, it's probably about the same, really, because I'm not paying for the production of the actual piece. The postcard costs you, I don't even remember, it's been a while since I've done it, but it costs you, 50, 60 cents or so on top of the postage. Mm-hmm. I did good on that. Go get it.
Good job.
So it's, and if anything, I'm running the letters at my office.
Right.
There's not that many of them. And
copier costs are going to explode all over Mason-McDuffie.
Exploding, right. I do buy my own envelopes, which I have printed there.
Thanks. Say that again.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding.
Well, I mean, you got to be fair.
Yeah.
So I buy my own envelopes. I print at the office because I have a nice color printer there. Mm-hmm. And then I'm just buying postage stamps on top of that and paying my child to put them on the envelopes.
The 9-year-old.
The 9-year-old, right, which is hard to motivate, and they don't always go on exactly the right way.
Which makes people probably want to open them more. Maybe. They look more authentic that way. Yeah. Any other tips, tricks, anything for the masses?
Yeah, always draw a smiley face on the envelope. April Fools.
No, dang it. That's the third April Fools on me.
I had to
today.
think of something for you.
Yeah, good deal. Doug, thank you so much for your time.
My pleasure.
Really appreciate you very much. Thanks for coming out and spending some time with us. A couple quick things to mark your calendar. I've already mentioned the Tech Expo. Make sure you don't miss that. Next week, we're going to have Chris Kamali on talking about the 15 must-try apps for residential real estate. We had him on a couple of months ago doing an app show, and it was one of the best reviewed shows we've ever had. So we're going to have Chris back on to give us more. And then mark your calendars. I know I mentioned May 17th, but also this week. Wow, it's already April. This week, on Thursday, we have Leslie Appleton Young, the California Association of Realtors economist, that's going to be just speaking to just our company and talking to us about what's going on with the market. And this is one you should not miss. We are heading into, for the first time in a generation, an upward trending rate environment market. Most economists agree that in the next 30 years, interest rates are going to go up, not down. That hasn't happened in 30 years. So we don't know exactly what that's going to mean for residential real estate. Leslie has a guess at what that will mean for residential real estate, and a very, very educated one that you should hear. So if you haven't RSVP'd, you need to. The deadline, I think, was Friday, but we'll sneak the last few in. So make sure you're RSVPing for the Leslie Appleton Young Thursday, April 4th in Lafayette at the Lafayette Events Center. 2 p.m. Thank you. 2 p.m., 2 to 3:30, hour and a half. So thanks, everyone, so much. Go out and make it a great week. Talk to you later.